I remember my time managing a rustic resort in the Adirondacks like it was yesterday. The place was steeped in history, with tales of a Canadian senator running rum during Prohibition, and even a visit from the president. But amidst the beauty and serenity of the camp, there was something eerie and unsettling that would forever haunt my memories. One evening, I met a girl and we decided to sleep out under the stars on the camp's peninsula. However, the weather took a turn for the worse, and we sought refuge in the screened-in porch of the boathouse. It seemed like a reasonable compromise, a sheltered spot close to the water. As the night grew late and I wrestled with sleep, I heard a distinct sound, the creaking of the bathroom door in the boathouse. My mind immediately jumped to my boss, a nosy woman who often pried into the staff's affairs. But why would she be hiding in the men's bathroom in the dead of night? Footsteps followed the opening of the door, echoing across the boathouse, descending the stairs, and stopping right outside the screened-in porch. My heart raced as I anticipated the door swinging open and my boss revealing herself. Minutes stretched into an agonizing silence, but nothing happened. No door opening, no voice calling my name. Just the night, my girlfriend, and the empty boathouse. The rest of the night, I lay there rigid with fear, unable to sleep or comprehend the inexplicable events that had unfolded. Morning came, and my girlfriend turned to me, immediately questioning the footsteps. She too had stayed awake, waiting for an explanation, but heard nothing. The terror in her eyes mirrored my own. From that day forward, she refused to set foot in the boathouse again. Unfortunately, my duties required me to enter the boathouse daily. During daylight hours, everything seemed normal, but at night, when I had to turn off all the lights and face the darkness alone, a sense of dread hung heavy in the air. And there, in the midst of the darkness, was an enormous hanging bed in front of the fireplace. It swung eerily on its chains, defying explanation or reason. A 175-pound bed, moving back and forth in the stillness of the boathouse. Every single night, without fail, that bed swung ominously. It became a chilling routine, a haunting reminder of the unexplained and the supernatural lurking within the depths of the camp. Even on my last day at the camp, as I entered the boathouse one final time, the bed continued its ghostly dance, etching in my mind a permanent mark of the inexplicable horrors I had witnessed. To this day, the memories of that haunted boathouse linger, a reminder that some places carry a dark history and an otherworldly presence that can never be fully understood. The Adirondack Resort, once a place of rustic charm, became a chilling testament to the paranormal, forever etching its ghostly tales into the fabric of my being. The night in the wilderness. I remember it vividly, as if it were yesterday. It was a camping trip like any other, or so I thought. Little did I know that it would turn into a night of horror and terror that would forever be etched into my memory. It was a crisp autumn evening when my friends and I decided to embark on our wilderness adventure. We were a group of 5, all eager to escape the hustle and bustle of city life and immerse ourselves in the serenity of nature. Our destination was a remote, secluded campground nestled deep within a dense forest. As we arrived at the campsite, the sun was beginning to set, casting long shadows across the tall trees. We quickly set up our tents, built a roaring fire, and settled in for the night. The air was filled with laughter and the aroma of roasting marshmallows, creating an atmosphere of camaraderie and excitement. As darkness enveloped the campground, a sense of unease started to creep over me. The rustling of leaves, the distant hooting of an owl, and the occasional snap of a twig made me acutely aware of our isolation. However, I brushed off my apprehensions, attributing them to the unfamiliarity of our surroundings. Hours passed, and my friends and I began to retire to our respective tents. I crawled into my sleeping bag and zipped up the tent, attempting to shut out the growing sense of dread. I closed my eyes, hoping sleep would find me swiftly and grant me respite from my anxious thoughts. But just as I was starting to drift off, a chilling breeze swept through the campsite, causing the flames of the fire to dance erratically. The once comforting crackle of the fire now sounded like sinister whispers echoing through the night. Goosebumps erupted on my skin as a foreboding presence seemed to settle in the air. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream pierced through the darkness, shattering the tranquility of the night. It was a scream of pure terror, a cry for help that sent shivers down my spine. I bolted upright, my heart pounding in my chest, and unzipped my tent in a state of panic. Outside, the campsite was engulfed in chaos. My friends were frantically searching for the source of the scream, their faces etched with fear. I joined them, scanning the area for any sign of danger. But what we discovered was beyond anything we could have imagined. A trail of blood led us deeper into the forest, our flashlights illuminating the gruesome scene. Torn tents, scattered belongings, and deep claw marks on nearby trees sent waves of horror crashing over us. It was as if some monstrous creature had torn through our campsite, leaving destruction in its wake. Fear gripped us tightly as we followed the trail of blood, our hearts pounding in our chests. The forest seemed to close in around us, the trees whispering with an otherworldly voice. With each step, the air grew heavier and an overwhelming sense of malevolence permeated the atmosphere. We reached a clearing, and there, lying motionless on the ground, was the person who had let out that dreadful scream. Their body was twisted and contorted, their face frozen in an expression of pure terror. It was a sight that would haunt my dreams for years to come. Panic consumed us, and we fled from the clearing, desperately trying to escape the horrors that lurked in the darkness. We ran blindly through the forest, branches clawing at our faces, our hearts pounding in our ears. The forest seemed to twist and turn, leading us deeper into its nightmarish depths. Finally, we stumbled upon a dilapidated cabin, standing ominously amidst the trees. It was our only hope for sanctuary. Trembling with fear, we pushed open the creaking door and stumbled inside, slamming it shut behind us. The cabin was in a state of disarray, as if someone had hastily abandoned it long ago. As we caught our breath, we realized that we were not alone. The cabin was filled with a sickening stench, and the sound of heavy breathing echoed through the silence. We huddled together, our eyes darting around the room, searching for the source of the noise. Suddenly the door burst open, and a monstrous figure loomed in the doorway. It was a creature straight out of nightmares, its eyes glowing with an unholy light. With a guttural growl, it lunged towards Yus, claws outstretched. In a desperate fight for survival, we fought back with whatever we could find: chairs, broken glass, anything that could be used as a weapon. But the creature was relentless, overpowering us with its sheer strength and ferocity. One by one, my friends fell, their screams echoing in my ears as I fought for my life. In a final act of desperation, I managed to grab a nearby lantern and smash it against the creature's head. The cabin erupted in flames, casting an eerie glow on the chaos that surrounded us. The creature let out a deafening screech before collapsing to the ground, consumed by the inferno. With the cabin engulfed in flames, I stumbled out into the night, gasping for breath. The forest was alive with the crackling of fire and the wails of the dying creature. I ran as fast as my trembling legs would carry me, desperate to put as much distance as possible between myself and the horror I had just witnessed. Eventually, I emerged from the forest, my body covered in scratches, and my mind haunted by the images that would forever haunt my nightmares. I collapsed on the side of the road, a passing car stopping to offer help. I could only mutter fragments of the horrors I had endured, unable to fully convey the terror that had consumed us that night. The authorities were called, and a search was conducted in the forest. But no trace of the creature was ever found. It seemed to have vanished, leaving behind only the scars of our ordeal. To this day, I cannot explain what we encountered in that wilderness, nor do I want to dwell on the possibility of it returning. That night forever changed me. The innocence and naivety I once had about the world were shattered, replaced by a deep-rooted fear and a constant sense of unease. I no longer find solace in the wilderness, and the thought of camping fills me with a dread I cannot shake. So, if you ever find yourself venturing into the unknown, heed my warning. Be cautious of the darkness that lurks within the wild. For there are things out there, things beyond our comprehension, waiting to prey upon the unsuspecting. And once you encounter true horror in the wilderness, it will forever haunt your soul. I woke up to the sound of crackling leaves beneath my sleeping bag. It took me a moment to remember where I was, deep in the heart of the wilderness, on a camping trip with my friends. The darkness of the night surrounded me, and the only source of illumination came from the dwindling campfire. everything seemed eerily quiet, as if the forest itself was holding its breath. A wave of unease washed over me, but I brushed it off as a result of being in an unfamiliar environment. I shook my head, trying to clear my mind, and reached for my flashlight. As I turned it on, the beam of light pierced through the darkness, revealing the outlines of the trees that surrounded our campsite. I decided to step outside and relieve myself before attempting to go back to sleep. The crisp night air chilled me to the bone, causing me to shiver involuntarily. I walked a short distance away from the camp, trying to find a suitable spot. But as I looked around, I couldn't shake off the feeling that I was being watched. A rustling noise echoed from the bushes nearby, and my heart skipped a beat. I swung my flashlight towards the source of the sound, but the beam only caught a glimpse of the swaying branches. My mind raced with thoughts of wild animals lurking in the darkness, waiting to pounce. I hurriedly finished my business and scurried back to camp, my footsteps echoing loudly in the silent night. Back at the campsite, I found my friends still fast asleep. I crawled back into my sleeping bag, trying to convince myself that it was just my imagination playing tricks on me. But as I closed my eyes, the noises in the forest grew louder, as if something or someone was getting closer. I tried to ignore the sounds and focus on falling asleep, but a bone-chilling howl pierced through the night, causing me to jolt upright. It was a sound I had never heard before, a mix of anguish and primal aggression. Fear clenched my heart as I realized that whatever was out there was not a typical woodland creature. I woke my friends, urgently whispering about the strange noises and our need to leave. Panic filled their eyes as they too heard the unusual sounds emanating from the darkness. We quickly packed up our belongings, not bothering to fold our tents neatly. Survival instinct kicked in, and we knew we had to get out of there. Footfalls. We ran as fast as we could, branches scratching our faces. Adrenaline pumping through our veins. The forest seemed to stretch on forever, each step feeling like an eternity. Finally, we burst out of the trees, panting and gasping for breath. We had made it out alive. Looking back, we saw nothing but the impenetrable blackness of the forest. Whatever had been pursuing us had vanished, leaving only a lingering sense of dread in its wake. To this day, we don't know what we encountered that night. A creature of the wilderness, a figment of our collective imagination, or something more sinister. But that camping trip will forever be etched in our minds as a true and original horror story, experienced firsthand in the depths of the unknown.